We're in studio silence, please. Good morning, Lagos. You're tuned in and listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1 for a fantastic Monday. It's the 11th of June and it is 7:31, which means we're well over time for Freshly Pressed, our detailed newspaper analysis segment. Joining Valentine and myself in the studio this morning, we have Ayo Esho. Esho1 is his tag on Twitter. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Fantastic. Great to have you here. We also have Tunde Okufi, aka Big Cuffs. That's how you can find him on Twitter. How are you?
Good morning, Folu.
Excellent. Good morning and welcome to all of you out there, Lagos. So remember to use the hashtag FreshlyPressed981 to comment on the stories that we are about to discuss this morning. If you also search for that hashtag, you will see that we have put up our live stream link. So go over to our YouTube channel to find that, and you'll also see we put up the newspaper headlines we're discussing this morning. First of which goes back to the Offa bank robbery. The headline from this day newspaper reads, "Concerns mount over missing Offa robbery gang," essentially. Now, Ayo, it's rather a lengthy story. It reads almost, I don't know if it's like a telenovela or like a short screenplay, but essentially there's a lot of back and forth with really just rumors suggesting that perhaps the ringleaders or some of the ringleaders, Innocent Adiku, who's a former police officer, and Okpado, a son of an Afenifere chieftain, may be missing. Now, these rumors are circulating because they haven't been paraded, unlike some of the other suspects. What are your thoughts?
Well, the police is claiming that through their PRO that they're actually still in custody. But what the question is why haven't they been paraded yet? And initially, I actually don't like the story at all because if there's any form of funny hacky-panky going on here just to saw the image of the Senate president, is actually going to be very, very it's going to be very, very going to be very terrible. I think it's good because if you read the story, there was a part in which they said the police had actually been brought into warning that just in case this is in any way trying to stain the image of the Senate president, he has to stop immediately.
Yes.
There's one part that is actually interesting here. It says that's like a take from ThisDay source. It says the former police officer Adiku might have been set up to entrap known thugs that are associated with Saraki. And if that be the case, how do you then trust the police to actually be just in this investigation?
Ayo, but here's something of larger concern when you read the story. There's no source, there's no actual facts that it really points to. All it says is perhaps, maybe, suggest, maybe. And what does that suggest to you if this is some of the headlines that we're seeing across our papers with supposition?
Can we really? I think the normal thing you do in a case like this is if this kind of rumors going around that somebody is missing, you bring them out almost immediately to just refuse that speculation.
But when we look at the antecedent that our security forces have set, we look at people like El Zakzaki, we look at people like the notorious kidnapper. People also suggested that all of these individuals had gone missing, were killed, were nowhere to be found. But eventually, the security forces did bring them out.
Well, okay, let's hope they're going to bring them out. But one part that is funny here, I don't know if it's funny, but it's police don't kill people, they protect people.
That's an interesting
Okay, I'll
statement.
just leave it at that.
Thank you very much for that, Ayo. Lagos, do send in your thoughts. If you want to read the full details of the story, you'll find it in ThisDay newspaper. For our next story, you'll find the details in the Premium Times. 35 containers of Tramadol have been seized at the ports. That's what NAFDAC say. And this is via the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, Moji Adeyeye. Says the agency has seized not fewer than 35 containers of Tramadol. However, they did point out the Nigerian Customs Service have not handed over all the containers. They say they've destroyed about 9 of the containers, I believe, that have been handed over so far, which, I mean, to me, it causes my eyebrows to go up. But Tunde, what are your thoughts on this story?
Well, first thoughts are though that there's no. It's quite a short story, but
Yes.
there's no mention as to the legality of these shipments to start with, because
Yes.
this tramadol isn't the shipment or importation of tramadol is not illegal, right? So it raises questions as to have our enforcement agencies just gone, absolutely berserkers, or haywire on absolutely on everything and anything that has anything that sounds like tramadol, could be anything of that nature is liable to be seized. If that's the case, then you have to think about the business persons or the entities that have imported this at great cost, who would now lose out. But however, if it has been identified that these were illegally imported, then I mean they're good on them that they've found this out and made this seizure. The story doesn't highlight that, however, and so that remains to be seen. For me, just similar to the codeine situation.
Yes.
And it's been debated extensively.
Yes.
All right. So banning a substance doesn't necessarily solve the problem. We have a huge substance abuse problem in the nation, in all types of drugs, including alcohol that is free, that is legal and everything. We go to the limits and extremes on things, right? So we need a more comprehensive approach to
Okay. Just before we move on, is it worth mentioning at all that Mr. Ayo actually says that while when on the one hand she lauds the administration of placing an embargo on codeine, she does say that codeine, like tramadol, should only be given by prescription.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, those are the other things that I highlighted. Clearly, I mean, tramadol should and can only be given by prescription. You see, if you go to pharmacies within Lagos, you see that they generally keep to the rules. They've even moved around how they organize the shelving. Some drugs can only take behind the counter, and that was fairly recent.
Yes,
but I'm sure that is not the case. Probably even in the outskirts of Lagos or elsewhere outside of our major cities.
Thank you very much for that, Tunde. We move on to another story. Just last week, we were talking about how NAPTIP were taking certain steps to prevent trafficking via under the guise of traveling for the World Cup. And now Ayo is seeing a headline from the Premium Times where NAPTIP intercepts 10 suspected trafficking victims and arrests a police officer in conjunction with that. Again, we're looking at another story that does read quite like a movie, but we see that they had been tipped off earlier on, sort of followed the suspects over a couple of days, and were able to prevent them from boarding certain planes. What's your take on this story?
Okay.
Of course, the breakdown as well.
For starters, the 10 victims for these people might not exactly be true, because another story, another report says they're youth, meaning most likely they're above 18. And this is World Cup year, okay? And you expect that during the World Cup, if you remember during the last Gold Coast, the One World Games in April, we heard about Cameroonians, Ghanaians, even Nigerians. Some coaches actually escaped after the competition. So this is a World Cup here. It's another way of people getting into Europe. So yes, this is going to happen, and I think they've been having a couple of tip-offs. I think NAPTIP would just have to be as vigilant too. I mean, the guys that escaping Australia probably hit a jackpot, but I don't think Russia will be that kind of jackpot. So at least we're trying to control migration, but using victims for them, we might want to really check exactly what's going on. Most likely, you'll be surprised that these young boys and girls, so-called here, might actually want to go to Russia.
Well, when you see one way ticket, it does raise eyebrows. It means that you don't really plan on coming back. But thank you very much for that, Ayo. Remember, Lagos, you can send in your comments and thoughts. We have tweeted what that number to you. And let's move on to our next story. This is in from the Guardian newspaper. AGF threatens to close non-compliant MDAs. Treasury releases. So we're being told that Mr. Ahmed Idris has threatened to close down ministries, departments, and agencies that are not compliant with laid down rules. Now, the head of information at the OAGF, Mr. Osei D. Johnson, gave a warning in a statement in Abuja, warning that henceforth agencies habit of rejecting Treasury officials deployed to them from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Well, he said they will be disciplined. Over to you. What are your thoughts on this today? And I know you have some comments on the penmanship of this, this article.
Thanks to the Guardian for throwing me off for a couple of minutes, calling it the Attorney General. I was like, what's the business with the Attorney General for overseeing payments and receipts of on behalf of the government? Anyway, thanks for that one.
Okay, compliance issues.
And yes. It's a lot of talk. First thing is, okay, so the Attorney General, when someone visits his office, when the Executive Vice Chairman of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure visits his office, and he takes it as an opportune moment to make these statements.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do it in that, when we have it's not bad and wrong in and of itself, especially if the press is around, right? But it just looks like sometimes our officials don't miss the opportunity of a good show, absolutely, to put out statements, right? We will be more interested in seeing real change and not doing your work on the pages of newspapers, but actually making real change. And it seems, why don't we do what China does if we're serious, right? If you misstep and it's found, because this is clear, right? They laid down rules around
Yes.
the TSA. They laid down rules around how payments and procurement should be carried out. They laid down rules around access that you must give to auditors and the books that you must prepare. Now, if someone doesn't keep to those rules, it's a mixture. Then you need to look at, is this incompetence, gross incompetence, or is this intentional to defraud the nation? If it's incompetence, then can we get the person, move them out of, they're not suitable for the job, and move them out? If it's deliberate, can we see this further and have them, go to prison, so that when we employ new people, we can take them on a tour and say, you see that last guy, it's because he did this, and that. They do that in China.
So
right?
very interesting you say this, Tunde. Wednesday last week we had Kingsley Amaku and Fatima Kakuru. They were both from the office of the Senate President, and they came through to talk about these things. Now, some of the things that we noted, which we're now seeing here, is the lack of compliance with different agencies. Now, a reason that was sort of put across, or sort of a rationale, was that, well, a lot of the time people don't want to take responsibility for something the person above them in a certain ranking should take. And this is endemic throughout our institutions and throughout our system. So what do we do to get out of this habit of, I don't know, I can't give this? No, it's not necessarily incompetence or necessarily a willful criminal behavior. Perhaps it's just I don't want responsibility for this.
Like say that in that the fish starts to rot from the head, right? So if it's a top-down issue, then change leadership, put competent people in leadership. It's the bane of our society. We promote mediocrity, and then people get into places of position when they should be working hard, and they just feel that, oh, it's not time for me not to focus on my job. I'm just looking for how to clean out and clear out. Not to bash them totally. And in reading this and looking at all the stories, I begin to wonder that is part of it. If it's part of the reason of the issue, the fact that perhaps their work methods and tools, are barely, updated. They're still doing things with paper and pen and trying to audit and reconcile accounts the way it was done. In the dark ages, but who knows?
Thank you very much for that.
We'll move on very quickly now to Guardian. I'll actually stay with Guardian with this. Read the 2009 elections in favor of the All Progressives Party. Now, so first is 1960 to date to opportunity to have people from the same ethnic group, the same lineage, more or less, hold
So we wouldn't be using them to elections if we didn't get stories like this. It's unexpected a lot more, to be honest. That said, I mean, having the general convention, not a rule, but just a general convention that, I'm going to pick someone from another part of the nation to me, it highlights our divisions, to be honest. Yeah. Because we freedom that person is meant to enjoy. It doesn't guarantee the neutrality that person is meant to enjoy. In fact, to me, knowing draconian methods is probably even the more reason why, we need to grow and develop on this. We need to develop institutions. We say it all the time. It goes beyond the individual, right? But apparently, unfortunately, we haven't built an institution. So what we're left with to get any good results are chairman is.
So probably tie in with your comments
to this
Yeah.
actually, because as much as we say that we should be out of this already, the fact is that reality on ground is that we are not. And if we know our nation, I would expect, considering how the country is, I would expect actually not that route.
Competence above everything else, yeah, but
Yeah, but
I'm sure,
enough
I'm sure
people
there are
that
competent people else.
exactly.
You know,
So that's what I would expect, but anyway.
All right, now to Punch. Bank worker hacks into customer's account. So we see this story on Punch newspaper. Pretty interesting to read here. They said the bank worker by name of Bumi, they just named him Bumi, so he colluded with a police suspect. He sent his accomplices to get specific accounts, to him, provided BVN details, account numbers, and certain information, and actually dive on suspecting accounts until the bank carried out an internal investigation and found out what was going on. What's your take on this?
Okay, so what I know is sometimes when is it really someone hacking? I mean, it's an internal person.
Details or information that
So
should be private.
Yeah, exactly. So what normally happens is anybody that has some kind of devious mind normally go to accounts that are probably dormant, or maybe they suspect that the account owner might be deceased. So and
pretty much an account that has a lot of money.
Well,
and the owner doesn't
usually
know.
they want the ones that nobody's
going to come back to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nobody's going to probably come back to pro. So it might not exactly be hacking. It might just be okay. Insist that this account nobody's running it. Cycle
Someone
now.
abusing his privileges.
Exactly. And that's fine because from what this is saying, that's why some other account that they try using it to withdraw. It's actually sad because you expect
just that the figures that came out was much more, right? So it points to one thing about our banks generally underreporting these issues and underreporting the amounts.
I think I think the banks too always try to be careful, with so but we just need to, yes, at the end they will have to actually report, because I mean this is going to blow out of proportion, but one other thing I noticed here is have any form of alert in your account. You want to have the people that actually came to listed, because I'm sure they're going to be fine afterwards. Probably after the initial trauma of being arrested is not very good. So the moment you notice it, you might want to just step forward and cry wolf.
Indeed.
There's also giving advice to everybody who has a bank account, really, to be very careful not to provide BVN details.
We've got messages coming in very quickly. Up on Twitter, we see Vlad the Impaler, that's Ifeanyi Tutos. He says Nigeria, talking about a story we're about to get to, he says in Nigeria it's now a crime to wear own a big phone, and if you're carrying a laptop, courtesy of the NP hashtag coming second. To Johnny from Bariga on banning or about to ban codeine and tramadol in Nigeria because of the adverse effects on kids indiscriminately, then why can't the federal government ban alcohol as well? I mean, every other state should just ban. Says to Jani. While this is in from lengthy message, can't read that one out right now, but Biggie from K2 says, I'd like to say whether internal or external, our bank security system is outdated. People right now are doing fake alerts and hackers are given the is be enough to vote, we need to ensure of action, says Chris. Let's move on.
Now to the story on premium time drive aimed at forcing the Buhari administration to take immediate steps on the wanted is really of SARS, the anti-robbery squad. Special the Inspector General of Police had actually stopped or banned indiscriminate stop and search of these operatives. Tunde, when you see this story, expecting that this could have been, the advice would have been needed ever since, but it still has been escalating so far, especially over the weekend where we had heard a couple of reports being shared on social media.
Okay, so this bottom line news story is around impunity and brutality, right? Something that we've had to endure and suffer pretty much since since independence. To be honest, what's different or strange now is that under the democratic rule, I had it. We still have law enforcement like special units like SARS going above and beyond their remit. And like people have noticed, have mentioned, if you look different, if you wear dreadlocks, if you have at the bottom of this is a shakedown. It's because more often than not is to extort you. These guys do some good work, right? Let's not forget that. It's however it's the abuses that they carry out that get the loudest noise, right? Let's remember, even though robberies in different areas or in the banks, house to house robberies. I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I know this. I mean, we lived in terror.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's house, home, or to keep large sums of money at home, and then there's a tip of carjackings at one point in time used to happen almost every day, right? In specific areas that's gone down. So they have done some work. It's the abuse that we need to look at, and if not, it's the bad. It's rooting out the bad crop.
Yes.
That would get us the results. And then again, it's a comprehensive approach and strategy. These guys are not adequately compensated. We put the within our society, put guns in their hands and say they should take care of the rest of us. I mean, what do you expect, really? So police, welfare package benefits, the lives of their, if they die in active duty, dependents, it's all encompassing. People say the civil service went dead when we started indiscriminate sacking and people losing their benefits and everything. It's a similar situation. These guys feel the excuse for what happens, because I mean, even I have experienced some ridiculous police behavior. But we need to root out the bad eggs. This operation probably potentially needs rebranding. The police need to trust the police, right? And that trust has gone. So ancient way in which we just profile people, and so they need to be trained.
Yes, they need to be trained actually.
Thank you very much. A few quick comments have come through up on our YouTube live.
To the judiciary, but they have been accused of taking.
What would have happened if he
Very question.
Thank you very much. And on that note, we are done with our stories for this morning inside of Freshly Pressed. A few more messages have on WhatsApp. I'll get to them quickly. I've met treasury officers on the job. See, there's no need to send them to these agencies. These agencies have people as qualified as those from the AGF office. There's nothing in our public accounting regulations that mandates the AGF to send people from his office to agencies. In fact, sometimes their bonuses are paid by these same agencies that have people employed to do similar work. So the account do not abuse, distort, and torture platforms online and in the pages of newspapers. But we can't take any more of those. Thank you very much. Find our analysts at 8:15 at Sports Inside the Locker Room.
The headlines, the stories,